Dear one, what time did you wake up last night? Not because anything happened. Nothing happened. The house was quiet. The phone was face down on the nightstand. And still, your mind was already somewhere else. Halfway through a sentence that wasn't happening anymore. Revisiting something that had already ended. Leaning into tomorrow before morning had even arrived. Perhaps it was a meeting. Perhaps it was something you read that you couldn't quite put down. Perhaps it was a conversation that kept finding one more ending. Whatever it was, your mind treated one more pass through it as if this time it might uncover something it had missed. You may not think of yourself as an anxious person. Most people around you probably wouldn't. You're the one who stays steady when something goes wrong. The one who notices what others miss. The one who keeps asking, what needs to happen next? And perhaps that's why 2 a.m. can feel so unfamiliar. The composure everyone else sees has gone to bed, but your mind hasn't. You have been trying to think your way through things that were never going to yield to more thinking. And some part of you knows this. The part that is still awake at 2, still running the loop, still convinced that if you just find the right angle on it, you'll finally be able to put it down. The right angle has not appeared yet. The loop keeps running. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe that keeping it running was the responsible thing to do. There is a psalm written into exactly this kind of night. Psalm 46. It was not composed for people who had already found peace. It was composed for people standing inside nations raging, kingdoms shaking, the ground itself giving way. The psalm does not open with resolution. It opens with the wreckage, named without flinching. And only then does it say something that should be impossible to hold in the same breath. Even here, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help. Notice what the psalm riff holds. It never asks you to stop noticing the wreckage. The nations keep raging, verse after verse, without the text rushing to explain it away. It simply refuses to let the noise cancels the nearness, or the nearness erase the noise. Part of you has been carrying the belief that staying troubled is what responsible people do, that letting your shoulders come down will be proof you stop caring about what actually deserves your attention. Somewhere in there, the mind found a way to make that vigilance feel unquestionable, giving it a name sturdier than fear. Duty, devotion, love. So the loop keeps running. Another lap, changing nothing. And stopping still feels like a betrayal you cannot survive. Here's what you might be discovering this season. None of that was ever the Psalm's ask. The wreckage gets its full weight in the text, and so does the steadiness beside it. And neither is waiting on the other to finish first. What you have been calling opposites this psalm holds in a single breath. Staying troubled was never proof you took the right things seriously. It was just what it cost you to believe peace and devotion couldn't share a breath. Take one breath and let it settle somewhere lower in your chest than where your thoughts usually live. There is a man standing at a window at night. The city below does not sleep well. Traffic moves at an hour when it should not need to. Somewhere further out, a low frequency of everything happening that he cannot see, cannot reach, cannot change by staring at it harder. He has stood here more nights than he would say out loud. He is not someone who frightens easily. He's the one at the table who stays calm, runs the numbers, holds the room together when everyone else cannot. None of that has made 2 a.m. any easier, because what keeps him here is not a problem's numbers can solve. It is the kind of wrong that does not yield no matter how many times he turns it over. You know this feeling, even if the frame around it is different. Maybe it is a ceiling you study while the house sleeps around you. Maybe it is a phone you pick up and set back down. Pick up and set back down. Whatever is raging in your life keeps moving whether or not you watch it. The diagnosis someone you love is carrying. The thing in your world you did not cause and cannot stop. The conversation that ended badly and will have to be entered again. Feel where your hands are right now. Not gripping anything, just wherever they happen to be resting. The traffic does not slow because you are tired of watching it. The sirens do not pause out of consideration for how long you have carried this. None of it was ever waiting on you. Your attention was never what held it up. What does your chest do with that? Beside you, without announcement, without requiring the noise to quiet first. God. Not a small God. Not one shaped to fit neatly into a comforting presence. The Lord of hosts, which is to say, the commander of heavenly armies, the one who holds authority over every force you cannot see and could not fight yourself even if you tried. That is who is standing at this window, not stepping between you and the noise, not muting the traffic or resolving what is unresolved beyond the glass. The God with authority over every raging thing there is, choosing to stand exactly where you are standing, looking at exactly what you are looking at, not needing to overpower the noise to be powerful, not flinching from any of it. There is no promise tonight that the noise stops. Worth being honest about that, because part of you has been waiting for that exact promise, the one with a timeline you could trust. That is not what is being offered. what is here is this: you were never standing at this window alone when it raged. The company and the noise are both true at once. Neither cancels the other. What would it mean to stop making the noise responsible for whether anything in you is allowed to settle? Take one more breath. Let your shoulders drop. Not all the way. Just as far as it feels honest. The traffic is still moving below. What was unresolved when this started is still unresolved. None of that had to change for any of this to be true. Psalm 46, verses 6 and 7. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Sit with that for a moment. I want to stay with how these two statements sit beside each other. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. Then, with no word bridging them, the Lord of hosts is with us. No conjunction, no transition. The text simply sets them side by side and leaves them there. That is not an accident. A but would have made the steadiness feel like it caused the chaos something, as if one had to lose ground for the other to stand. The text refuses that trade. The wreckage gets its full weight. So does what stands beside it. Neither is asked to shrink so the other can be true. The Lord of hosts is with us. Not once the nations settle. In the very line that follows their raging, before anything has resolved. I'm curious what it does to you, hearing that steadiness was never waiting on the raging to stop first. The text does not promise the nations quiet on your timeline. There is a later verse in this psalm about wars finally ceasing, and that claim is real. But it is not this one. This verse is narrower. It says the Lord of hosts is here, now, while the earth is still coming apart. The God of Jacob is our refuge. The nations were still raging. The earth was still trembling. He was already with us. Here's the one thing I want you to carry out of this. Staying troubled was never proof you took the right things seriously. It was just what it cost you to believe peace and devotion couldn't share a breath. Something needs saying plainly before we close, because it gets confused easily. Surrender and indifference feel identical to anyone who has spent years treating their unrest as the measure of their faithfulness. But they are not the same thing. Indifference would mean none of this ever mattered to you. and you would not have been awake at 2 in the morning over something that didn't. The nations actually raged. Nothing here asks you to feel less about it. Surrender asks something else entirely. That you stop requiring your own unrest as proof you were still keeping watch. You can feel the full weight of what's wrong and still let your shoulder drop an inch. You can care about an outcome without needing your sleeplessness to certify it. Those were never opposites. The psalm holds both in a single breath. I want to name the specific version of you who has been doing this. Not the generic anxious person. You. Reading the news because looking away felt like cowardice. Replaying the conversation because somewhere you learned vigilance was what responsible people do. Staying awake with things you could not fix because stopping felt like betraying what deserved fixing. That was never nothing. It came from something real. It was just never the same thing as being able to hold it. Grieve what the vigil has cost you. The sleep, the quiet you would not let yourself have because it felt like abandonment. You're allowed to feel that plainly without hurrying past it toward the lesson. Next time, we look at what this psalm does with the call to witness what God has done, and what it means to lift your eyes from the thing you've been watching so closely you stop seeing anything else. The raging does not have to stop for this to be true. He was with you before the noise settled. Go gently.